Okay, how's it going? So today we're going to read some Marx, The War Question, Financial Matters, and Strikes is from this section. Well, let's see which one we want to start with. I guess maybe the War Question. We can go with the War Question. Yeah, let's go ahead and go with the War Question. All right. The War Question. So this is October 7th, 1853. This was published in New York Daily Tribune and in the New York Semi-Weekly Tribune, in abridged form in German and Die Reform. So let's go ahead and get into this. The War Question. London, Friday, October 7th, 1853. On Friday last, the Morning Chronicle, in its fourth edition, communicated a telegraphic dispatch according to which the Sultan, Abdul Majid, had declared war against Russia. The Paris Patriot of yesterday evening announces in a semi-official note that the intelligence received from the East does not confirm that the statement of the Morning Chronicle. According to another ministerial paper, the Constitutional, it was on the reiterated representations of Mr. de Bruck, the Austrian internuncio, that the Divan Assembly on the 25th, with a view to deliberate on the Vienna Note, when it declared it would abide by the last note of Rashid Pasha. A Grand Council was convoked on the following day. The council, consisting of 120 of the principal ministers, councillors, pashas, and religious dignitaries, resolved that, quote, it would be contrary to the dignity and subversive of the sovereign authority of the Sultan to sign the Vienna Note without modification suggested by the Divan, and that inasmuch as the Tsar Nicholas I had declared those modifications to be totally inadmissible, and refused to abandon this demand for an engagement destructive of the independence of the Ottoman Empire, it only remained for the council to advise the Sultan to proceed at once to adopt the measures necessary for the preservation of his empire, and to free his dominions from the presence of the invader. Quoted according to the article published in the Morning Post, October 5th, 1853, and reprinted in Le Constitutionnel, number 279, October 6, 1853. So, this is back to Marx. As to the formal declaration of war, it has not yet been confirmed by an authentic dispatch. This time, at least, the Porte has caught the Western diplomats. The English and French governments, not daring to call their fleets home, unable to hold any longer their ridiculous position at Besika Bay, unwilling to pass the straits in open defiance to the Tsar, wanted the Porte to send for ships from Besika Bay on the pretext that danger to the Christians at Constantinople was to be apprehended during the fetes of Bairam. The Porte refused, observing that there was no danger, that if there was, it would protect the Christians without foreign aid, and that it did not wish to summon the ships until after the fetes. But the vanguard of the united fleets had hardly crossed the straits, when the Porte, having now put its vacillating, treacherous allies into a fix, declared for war. As to the war itself, it commenced 3 months ago, when the Russian forces crossed the Pruth. The first campaign was even brought to a close when the Russian legions reached the banks of the Danube. The only change that can now take place will be that the war will cease to be a one-sided one. Not only the Bey of Tunis, Ahmed, but the Shah of Persia, Nasr ed-Din, notwithstanding the intrigues of Russia, has placed at the disposal of the Sultan a corps of 60,000 of his best troops. The Turkish army then may truly be said to be a mustering of all the available forces of Mohammedanism in Europe, Africa, and Western Asia. The hosts of the two religions, which have long struggled for supremacy in the East, the Russo-Greek and the Mohammedan, are now fronting each other, the one summoned by the arbitrary will of a single man, the other by the fatal force of circumstances. According to their mutual creeds, as the Russo-Greek Church rejects the dogma of predestination, while Mohammedanism centers upon fatalism. Today, two meetings are to be held, the one in Downingst the other in the London tavern, the one by the ministers, the other against them, one in favor of the Tsar, one in favor of the Sultan. From the leaders of the Times and the Morning Chronicle, we might infer, if there could exist any doubt about intention of the coalition, that it will try to the utmost to prevent war, to resume negotiations, to kill time, to paralyze the Sultan's army, and to support the Tsar and the principalities. The Tsar has declared for peace. The Times is happy to state here and below Marx quotes from the leaders of, so here and below Marx quotes from the leaders of the Times, October 6, 1853. This is where he quotes. Upon undoubted authority, the Tsar has expressed pacific sentiments at Olmütz by his own lips. He will not accept the modifications the Porte has proposed. He will abide by the original Vienna note, but he will allow the Vienna Conference to interpret the note in a preternatural sense, contradictory to his own Nesselrode's interpretation. He will allow them to occupy themselves with conferences, provided they allow him, meanwhile, to occupy the principalities. The Times, in its peace paroxysm, compares the other two emperors of Russia and Austria to a couple of savage chiefs in the interior of Africa, in order to arrive at the conclusion, after all, what does the world care for the emperor of Russia? That it should go to war out of deference to his political mistakes. End quote. Okay. So yeah, that is the War Question by Marx, 1853. Yeah, so thank y'all for tuning in. I hope y'all have a great day. Follow me online, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, Tumblr, Medium. Follow me on all those. Marx is on all of those. Follow me there. Y'all have a great day, and do that go.